So much. And thanks for that great introduction. And I'm actually really excited to talk about this product too. I think this is something, the concept of this product is something that has sort of been swirling around as an idea around BodyWise for a long time. Maybe not as long as I've been with BodyWise or as long as Steve's been with BodyWise, but a long time. When we think about digestive health, those of you who remember, what Tom Tierney used to say when he would get up on stage and talk to everyone was, you're not really just what you eat, but you're what you absorb, right? You're what you absorb. And so, the barrier to what we absorb, it is a lot, as we talk about a lot. It's a lot about our forms of our vitamins and minerals and making sure that they're, when we put them in products that they dissolve correctly and they go into solution correctly and they're bioavailable so that you can absorb them. But if your gut's not healthy, that's a huge barrier to health. It's a huge barrier to getting nutrition in your body. It's a huge barrier to having good quality of life. And so before we dig into the product, everybody who's ever heard me talk, I always have to say a few things just about, health, well-being, and why we're here and doing what we do, right? So, why digestive health? When we think about this category, the numbers are actually really amazing. We don't remember as a company doing dietary supplements, nutrition, we're not, treating disease, right? We're treating health and wellness and helping people to live, longer, healthier lives, right? Through nutrition. That's really the fundamental part of what we are doing and what we're empowered to do. And when it comes to digestion, there's a thing that's talked about in health and wellness that we just literally call digestive quality of life. In fact, there's whole health surveys that help people assess digestive quality of life. And when we do those surveys in large populations, we find that on average, half of the population doesn't have a digestive disease, just considers that they have poor digestive quality of life. Like on a daily basis, they say, my digestive system does not function in a way that makes me happy all the time. Half of the adult population. That's a lot of people. So I just want to set a baseline, for what that looks like. And, just a few numbers. So so that's half of Americans. That's a lot of people. What does some of that break down to? Like chronic constipation. That's not a disease. It's just people whose guts are slow and they're not going to the bathroom as often as they should be, right? That's about 65 million adults at any given point in time who just feel like they have some degree of not having the healthy bowel regularity that they want to have or that they feel good about having. And functional GI upset, right? Just where they're kind of like, don't really feel that good, like in my gut. Like, maybe I have a little, bloating after I eat, or a little distension or some discomfort, or I'm gassy, all that. About 20% of the population just complains about just having some functional digestive upset. Okay, so why we're doing this is a lot of people need it. Okay, so there's other things we can benefit, but basically this is the kind of thing that almost, impacts the health and well-being of so many people that I'm not going to go so far as calling this, foundational nutrition, but it really, for a lot of people, fits into what they should be doing as part of their health and wellness routine every single day, each and every day. A couple more things. It's also important to know that just naturally, even for those of us who are pretty healthy, GI function tends to decline as we age. This is a system that, gets a ton of use, right? Every time you're putting something in your mouth, you're using your gut. Like that should be for most people several times a day, right? We're doing this all the time. It means that system gets a lot of work. The cells that line your digestive system actually turn over every 7 days. So like once a day, once a week, you get a whole new lining of your gut. That means this system is constantly having to work to also repair itself and build new cells and refresh itself. In addition to what we're going to talk about tonight with this product for helping to, promote the health and well-being of the digestive system, there's always just a few things you can do day in, day out, all the time. We can talk about diet. That would be a whole other call. But if I had to tell you one thing in diet, eat fiber. Most people just do not get enough dietary fiber. Most of that comes from plants. So eat more plants, eat more fresh fruit, eat more vegetables, eat more whole grains. That will give you fiber and your digestive system will like you and thank you for it later. Two other things, water. Okay. Like if your gut needs two things, it needs fiber, it needs water. Drink enough water. Okay. It's hot out there right now in a lot of the country and a lot of the world. It's hot. Even more important to drink good water when it's hot. And one that we don't think about for the gut a lot is you got to exercise. Okay. Your digestive system is a big, long tube that goes from the top to the bottom. And that tube is muscle. That's literally what it is. And a lot of the complaints that people get with digestion as they age are really can be partly attributed to those muscles not getting enough like exercise, right? And that's the same kind of exercise that benefits the rest of your body. Walking, swimming, biking, going to the gym, dancing, gardening, whatever makes you happy and gets you moving around. Those things are also good for your gut. They're good for your heart. They're good for your bones. They're good for everything else. Exercise is probably the most important free anti-aging drug on the planet. And it's also good for your gut. Okay. Now that I've said all that, let's talk about this really cool product because I think this is a really cool product. If you have to remember three things, and I took a bunch of notes because it's Monday and there's a lot in my head today. If you have to remember three things, this is a product that is for improved digestion. That is right on the label. That's an easy one to remember. But for the common things that people think about as, functional things that, again, impact that GI quality of life, bloating, gas, indigestion, irregularity, this product helps to benefit all of those functional things that, affect, again, half of the population. Better absorption of nutrients, okay? And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But basically, when you're breaking down your food as to the best, most optimal way that you can, and that's what we get through the enzymes that we can put in this formula, the better everything is broken down, the more bioavailable all your nutrients become, right? So we're kind of breaking things down into their smallest parts, their most bioavailable parts, really facilitates ease of digestion. And immune health support, and I will say a little bit more about that when I get into talking about some of our ingredients. So I think, all right, let me just say a little bit here. So this product fundamentally combines two concepts. We have digestive enzymes and we have probiotics. So those are things probably everyone's heard about, but let me just, for clarity's sake, say a little bit about what they are. Enzymes are something that you make them in your body, right? So we make them in our digestive system, in our gut itself. We also make them in an organ called the pancreas, which makes a bunch of enzymes that it secretes into the gut. So every time you eat, your body says, oh, we need some enzymes to break down fat. And we need some enzymes to break down carbohydrate. And we need some enzymes to break down protein. And it releases a combination of those things into the digestive system where you need it. And it breaks our food down into smaller and smaller parts. And then there's even some more enzymes that live right in the wall of your digestive system that break things down into tinier and tinier parts. So eventually, hopefully, what you absorb are the smallest pieces. So as we get older and some of these functions decline, or even for some people never have optimal levels of the enzymes that they need to do healthy digestion. We even see this sometimes in kids. It's really much more common, again, especially when we think about 50% of the population feeling like their digestive quality of life is low. This isn't something we run around and measure with people, but the assumption is it's actually pretty common that people don't have optimal levels of enzymes to do good digestion for most of the time. So what are you getting in here? You're getting this fantastically smart blend of enzymes in this product that kind of covers all your bases and then some. Okay, so it's kind of got all the major things. We've got some protease in here to break down protein, some lipase to break down fat, some lactase to break down milk sugars, things like that are common. But you have some other things in here that you might be less familiar with. And I thought I would just tell you about a couple of them because they're really pretty cool. There's an enzyme in here. I think on the label, it's labeled as DPP4. The big long name for that is dipeptidyl peptidase. Do not remember that. There's not a vocabulary test for this, but that's actually a very specific enzyme that breaks down gluten. So a lot of people have heard about gluten and talked about gluten. You probably know that maybe up to 30% of the population is somewhat or totally intolerant to gluten. That's a protein that's found in a lot of common grains like wheat and rye. Having this enzyme in here can be really beneficial for people who get specifically some of that bloating and gas and things from eating gluten-containing grains. So it's a really good thing that we have that in here. We also have alpha-galactosidase. This is one of my favorite enzymes. I love this enzyme. This is an enzyme that breaks down what we call our fermentable fibers. So fermentable fibers, a lot of those, I just told you should eat more fiber. That includes fermentable fiber. A lot of those are great. They're really good for cardiovascular health and for promoting satiety, so a sense of fullness. But they also feed, and we're going to come back and talk about probiotics in your microbiome in a minute. They're really good food for your microbiome. It's part of why they're good. But when your microbiome eats them and it does this fermenting, that can produce gas and bloating. And in some people, that produces a lot of gas and bloating. In fact, it's probably one of the most common causes of that. So wonderful little alpha-galactosidase can break those carbohydrates and fibers down just enough so that you still get what you need and you don't do so much fermentation in your gut and produce a lot of gas. It's a really nice, helpful little enzyme. What else is in here that's good? Those are some of my favorite ones. We have glucoamylase that works on simple carbohydrates, also digests alcohol. We have a couple of other specific enzymes in here that break down more of the hard, like tougher fibers in plants, so they're easier for you to kind of process and digest. So again, this is a very, very smart blend that really kind of works across all of those aspects of digestion, and then just gives you those little bonuses for helping to break down gluten, break down milk sugar, and break down those fermentable carbohydrates. So it's just a great, great, great blend. So the other big component of this formula is getting the probiotic blend in here. I think most people have heard of what probiotics are, but what they are just fundamentally are the bacteria that are good for your health, not just for digestive health, but I think you've heard Steve say immune health and some other things. And I'm going to talk about what a few of the specific benefits of this blend are. But before I do that, I wanted to say a couple of general things just because people are going to talk about it. So why probiotics? Probiotics feed what's called your microbiome. And your microbiome are the bacteria that normally live in your body. So we have them everywhere. We have a microbiome on our skin. We have microbiome in our mouths. We have microbiome, in your gut and other places. The one in the gut gets the most attention, probably because there's the most research on it. And it's very important for maintaining the immune system function in your digestive system, but also probably in the rest of your body. It plays a role in our metabolic health. It plays a role probably in mood and brain health and all kinds of other things that we're learning through research now. So supporting this area is super important. And we also know that just generally speaking, a lot of us are doing things kind of on a regular basis that really probably lend through our lifestyles to harming our microbiome. So stress, for example, hurts your microbiome. A lot of the things that we encounter, just that we can't help, toxins in drinking water. If you've ever taken antibiotics, a fair number of prescription medications, certain kinds of pollutants that we come in contact with, these things all can alter the health of your microbiome. And a lot of them, some of them we just can't avoid. There's things out there that you just can't, if you have an infection and you need to take an antibiotic, that sometimes you have to do that and you can't avoid it. You might, be encountering things in your food and your water that, you're not measuring all the time, you don't have control over, but they have an impact on this system. And over time, that can take a toll and really just, lead to, consequences both in the gut and outside of the gut. One thing that you may hear from people when they look at this product is they're going to go, oh, well, I saw this probiotic at Whole Foods that had 1 billion CFUs in it. And I want to talk about that because, why not have 1 billion? Why not have 60 billion? Why not have some, astronomical? I think I actually saw a product once that claimed that it had 100 billion CFUs. So I'm going to just tell you something because I've been a formulator for a really long time. And John Paul can attest to this. When we were working on this product, after talking about the ingredient science, John Paul, what was the first thing I told you I needed to see all the data on? With the stability, specifically the stability data. So I want to say something about that because it's really important. So if somebody's like, oh, well, my product, you got, 125 million CFUs, but my product has a billion CFUs. So that's obviously better. So here's how this works in formulation, right? When most companies, not BodyWise, but most companies, when they formulate a probiotic, these are live bugs, they're live organisms. We need them to be alive for them to work and do what they're doing in your gut, right? So if I turn on my manufacturing equipment and I'm going to make a tablet or a capsule or a powder with a probiotic in it, the minute that comes out off the equipment, I can say it's got a billion CFU in it, and I never have to measure it again, ever, from that date. So I made that product on January 1st. And from the minute I did that, if I don't know what I'm doing, it starts to die. That's what it starts to do, right? It starts to die right at that minute. Then I don't ship it to you for 6 months because I now it's sitting in my warehouse and I may or may not be temperature controlling it. And now, so it's 6 months old. By the time you get it, half the probiotics in there might be dead. But, you know, if I'm not looking and doing what I need to do, you don't know that. So, I mean, there's been tests that have tested this out in the marketplace, but a lot of these products that are labeled a billion or 60 billion or whatever astronomical number, by the time they get to the people taking them, they got almost nothing left in them, nothing that's valuable. So, you know, we really carefully reviewed the stability data on this product because you don't need a billion of these things, but you need a certain number of them so that when you're putting them into your body, there's enough there that it is sort of seeding the digestive system and able to kind of take hold in there and do the work. That doesn't take a million. What it takes is having a healthy number of these organisms and making sure that they're stable and that they're alive by the time you get them. So that is something that gets lost, I think, when people, you know, it's America, people are like, bigger is better, a bigger number is a better number. In this case, that's not what's important. The organisms being stable and being alive when you get them and you put them in your mouth, that's the part that's important. And the stability of this product has been tested very carefully, you know, which is really an important part of quality in this kind of product. So, you know, I think that that's something that everyone needs to be able to know so that when you're talking to other, you know, people who might be taking a probiotic, that you're able to say, well, you know, that might say a billion, but, you know, we know that the organisms in our product are viable when you're getting the product. And that's really what counts at the end of the day. So, this is a cool blend of probiotics too, you guys. The blend that's in here is really, really awesome. I want to talk about every single ingredient in here, but I think, well, I'll say a few about the lead ones, and then if people have questions about some of the other ones, we can come back on him. So there's B subtilis, which is the one that's the DE111. That is probably one of the better clinically validated strains of probiotic, very well studied for just overall sort of, this is kind of the big gun overall GI health support probiotic. This one together with the Lactobacillus acidophilus DDS. So you can kind of think of those two as the big guns that just top to bottom are there and supporting overall digestive frequency, regularity. These are the ones who help kind of keep you regular on a day-to-day basis, and really are probably the lead probiotics in making sure that your microbiome stays in a healthy balance, you know, between the good bacteria that you want and the bad ones that you're trying to make sure that you minimize. There's also a little bit of study with this particular strain saying that it further helps to promote metabolic health. So there's a little data saying that it can support cardiovascular health in particular. So again, you know, I think it's good to know that your probiotics have benefits inside the digestive system, but many of them also have benefits that go far beyond digestive health itself. L-Pericaceae, so there's a couple in here that are really important for immune health. I think probably the 3 that I would pull out as most important would be the L-Pericaceae. That's probably one of the better studied strains for immune health very specifically. There's Lactobacillus bulgaricus in here. If that sounds familiar to any of you, if you're a label reader or if you're a yogurt eater, this is one of the most common strains of healthy bacteria that we find in like a good quality yogurt. So when you hear people talking about health benefits of yogurt, particularly for gut health and immune health, a lot of that is coming from the Lactobacillus bulgaricus, which you're getting that benefit in here. Lactobacillus gasseri is really just that we could talk about research on that little bug just by itself for a very long time. But in addition to supporting gut health, also supports immune system health. And even beyond that, there's some interesting evidence for this product in particular that it may contribute to metabolic health in a way that helps people maintain a healthy weight. So some very interesting data on L-gasseri by itself. And I don't know, Lactobacillus plantarum, that's another neat one. So if you've ever been, read about the benefits of fermented foods. So, people who talk about the benefits of kombucha or eating kimchi or those kinds of things. Lactobacillus plantarum is one of the most common bacteria that we find in fermented foods and is probably highly responsible for those benefits. So that includes some benefits for immune health, but again, also metabolic health and cardiovascular health. So I don't know, I could talk about all of them, but I think those are some of the things that I find most cool. So when you look at this blend overall, you're getting all of those good benefits for helping the microbiome stay balanced and stay healthy. You're getting some added benefits for immune health and probably some added benefits even for metabolic health, maybe for maintaining healthy weight. There's a couple of strains in here that even benefit like the health of the mouth. So there's some data on oral health. And the list could go on. I think actually it'd be really cool one of these days where we could do a whole call and just kind of talk about the microbiome and how these kind of bugs interact with the microbiome. So incorporating this into what you do, one a day with your biggest meal would be the most basic way to take this product. So if you're just looking for all of those benefits, in terms of supporting gastrointestinal health and digestion and immune health, probably a little bit for metabolic health, then, whatever your biggest meal is. So for some people that's, lunch, dinner, maybe it's breakfast, depending on what your balance of your food is. But for people who are looking for more support, up to 3 a day. So, 1 to 3 is kind of the range, with 1 being the starting place. And I think that, gosh, I just talked for my whole time, I think, Steve. So I'm gonna stay quiet for a minute and see if you have any questions or anyone else has any questions.
Well, I certainly do. I was taking copious notes over here. Some of these things, I don't understand some of these, measurements, if you would. Some of these initials that are on the side here, it would be great if we could just put something on the website explaining what all that is.
It's really so it's a good point. Like the way that we measure enzymes isn't in it's not in like milligrams or ounces or international units or all the things you're measured in. All of these little abbreviations, we could do that if you want to, John Paul, if you want to do a little glossary of that. The problem is it doesn't mean a lot. Most of that is a measure of how that specific enzyme digests a specific thing. So it's like a very specific activity measurement just for that enzyme. So it doesn't tend to relate to like anything else that you're familiar with. So I can tell you that it's, milk clotting units, and you're going to say, oh, because that's what an MCU is a milk clotting unit. Okay. But unless you understand what that actually means in the laboratory, it's just going to tell you it's a milk clotting unit.
Okay, that's fair. That's you did mention something I found, and sorry, I'm not bringing the disease state in here, but you mentioned the pancreas.
Yes.
And so the obvious thing to me is that when you said that, as a layperson with an honorary doctorate, but still a layperson, it seems to me anybody who's a diabetic especially would be extremely interested in this from an enzyme standpoint.
Different functions of the pancreas. So your pancreas is what's called an endocrine organ, and it's what's called an exocrine organ. So as an endocrine organ, it makes insulin and glucagon, which are the hormones that regulate our blood sugar health and regulation. As an exocrine organ, this is one that we talk about a lot less, but it makes enzymes and it excretes them into the digestive system. So what we're really doing here in supporting the pancreas in this part is supporting it in its job of being an exocrine organ.
Excellent. Okay.
If that
Thank
helps.
you. No, that does. And this is a very interesting category, and I'm really happy. We've had a lot of people for a long time asking, why we don't have it. So I'm just loving the fact that we not only have a probiotic, but a combination of which I never thought was even possible, frankly.
What this comes down to is smart formulation and the ability to make those things stable in a formula together. That's not something everyone can do.
No, I've never heard of it before until this. So
I'm glad you pointed that out, but is another thing that's impressive about this product is not just that the probiotics are stable, but having the enzymes and the probiotics be stable together is actually really fairly sophisticated.
Yeah, it's the first thing I mentioned this product. The first thing they say is, well, they can't coexist in the same product. I said, that's what I was told, and I can hardly wait for this call that we're going to be doing Monday, because I'm sure Dr. Jacques will address this, because I will tell you that I personally and carefully reviewed the stability data.
I think to me that was, again, next to the individual quality of the ingredients, the next most important thing was being able to assure everyone in the BodyWise community that this product was delivering what it said it was going to deliver, and it was going to deliver it in a way that was stable.
Thank you, John Paul. It's right back at you.
Absolutely. Stable until the expiration date.
Which, by the way, is one of 24 on this bottle.
Yeah. So thank you for mentioning stable to the expiration date is really important. So again, I challenge you to do this. Go to your health food store or your pharmacy or whatever, and look at labels on probiotics in particular. A lot of them have a manufactured on date and not an expiration date, which again is another indication that they only had that thing in them on that day that they rolled off the assembly line.
We're getting a question from Julie Pels, who's asking, what is the survivability of probiotic organisms when exposed to acidity in the stomach?
Yeah, so that's another important question. So these particular organisms in this formula are all ones that have shown to be viable as they transit through the gut. So that is another way that these have to be tested, and that testing gets done on an individual ingredient basis. So each one of these particular organisms has been shown to be able to pass through the acidity of the gut of the stomach to get to where they need to go. You guys get this one. This is really good. This is also the kind of product, again, you know what? I think this is another important thing. This is also the kind of product that people often feel the difference very quickly. Like people have really been, experiencing that, as I said, very common low digestive quality of life. This is the kind of thing that they can often have the experience of it benefiting them, like the day they take it.
So Dr. Jacques, one of the things that John Paul might address is when he first sent this out to some folks that had some serious concerns, gut concerns, and got amazing results. And he was telling me about it, and I had a conversation with him. I said, well, it sounds to me like this is a product that will be more of it's also as much a maintenance product. In other words, every day for a person who doesn't have a problem. And so I suggested to him that he send it out to people that don't have any issues. And Cindy and I happen to be the beneficiary. We benefited from that suggestion, and John Paul sent us about a week's supply. And I concur. I mean, I've never, ever, I didn't believe have any issues, but I saw a subtle, but a difference, and it was a good thing, as far as I'm concerned. So I just thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah. That just made me think of like 10 more things that we could talk about. So we need a second call on this product, John Paul. I have actually a whole other, I think it would be a really interesting call perhaps to talk about the varied ways that people can use this product, like when they're traveling or, for other kinds of situations. Like there's other ways that we can talk about this. So
Bill Frawley, do you have any closing thoughts for us?
Yeah, I do. This was really an important call. And the comments that Dr. Jacques and her explanations, I just found really interesting. The body is so amazing. and most of us kind of ignore the complexity of it because it's hard to understand the complexity. So when you start talking about various enzymes and probiotics and, vitamins A and all the minerals, blah, 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 blah. I mean, what hits me is that as you get older, and today it really hit me because, I'm with all these classmates from high school, and we graduated in the class of 1960, and I joke that's 1960, not 1860. But the point, but the point being, as you get older, you lose some of the capabilities that you just take for granted as you're younger. And so, like the digestive system, I mean, you just assume you can eat anything when you're younger and it won't affect you. It's all good. And no matter what it is, right? 18,000 pizzas and 14,000 hot dogs, and you don't care. It just doesn't affect you. But it's really important as you get older to focus on, in particular, various things, including the digestive system. I don't think we do. And so this is a very important new product. I thought it was wonderfully explained by Dr. Jacques. And I've got a renewed enthusiasm for this product, even though I've tested it and like it. I just have a renewed enthusiasm because I now realize even more how important it is to maintaining good health, to maintain a good microbiome. So Dr. Jacques, thank you. And everyone else on the call, this is a great product to promote. I mean, it's really important for your health. And so with that, I'll sign off and